They bragged about their battleships. They always bragged. Across the dark silence of space, their voices spread like thunder. The aliens believed no one could stand against them. Their fleets were endless, their weapons burned entire worlds, and their arrogance was bigger than the stars. They thought humanity was weak, small, and easy to break. But they had never met humanity's vessel. Not yet. It started with whispers. A distant colony stopped sending messages. Then, another. Then an entire trade route went silent. People feared pirates at first, but soon the truth arrived with a broken transmission. Alien warships, giant monsters of steel and plasma, were moving closer to human space. They did not hide. They wanted fear. They wanted humans to know that resistance was useless. The alien commanders mocked in their broadcasts. They laughed at Earth, calling humans children playing with fire. They said human ships were fragile toys compared to their mighty battleships. They promised mercy if humans bent their knees. They promised fire if humans resisted. And the galaxy knew what would come next. But humanity did not kneel. Humanity built something in secret, something the aliens could not imagine. One vessel. Not a fleet, not an armada, just one ship. The last hope of Earth. It was not the biggest ship in the stars. It was not the loudest or the brightest. But it was something else. Something dangerous. When the alien scouts entered human space, they found nothing at first. Empty silence. Dark planets. Cold moons. They thought humans were hiding. They thought it would be easy. And then, from the shadow of a gas giant, the vessel appeared. No banners. No speeches. Just a silent shape of steel, drifting forward like a predator in the dark. The aliens laughed. Their commanders spoke proudly across the channels. Is this your defense, humans? One vessel? One fragile ship against our battleships? They bragged again, their words filling the void of space. They told stories of the worlds they burned. They promised Earth would be nothing but ash. And still, the vessel stayed silent. No answer came. Inside, the crew prepared. Their faces were calm, but their eyes were sharp. Every system hummed with power. Every weapon was ready. This ship was not made to scare. It was made to kill. The alien fleet surrounded the vessel, glowing with arrogance. Lights of plasma weapons charged. They wanted to play with their prey. They wanted the humans to beg. But the vessel still gave no answer. It drifted, waiting. The first shot came from the aliens. A beam of fire cut across the void, striking the vessel's shields. The galaxy expected to see the human ship torn apart. But the shields held. Stronger than anyone believed. Stronger than the aliens thought possible. A silent shock rippled through their ranks. The vessel moved then. Not fast. Not reckless. Precise. Its weapons lit the darkness like burning stars. A single shot left its cannons, and an alien battleship cracked apart. The bragging voices fell silent for a moment. Shock. Fear. And then rage. More fire came from the aliens, endless storms of plasma and missiles. But the vessel danced between them, its engines twisting like shadows in the void. Every move was perfect. Every shot was deadly. Another battleship fell. Then, another. The silence of the humans was louder than any speech. The aliens screamed across their channels, ordering their fleets forward. They cursed humanity. They promised to crush the vessel. But inside, they felt something strange. Something they had never felt before. Fear. The humans did not speak. They did not answer the alien bragging. They simply fought. Each moment, the vessel struck harder. Each second, the fleet grew weaker. The arrogance that once filled the void now cracked into panic. And still, no human voice came. Only the sound of weapons. Only the silence of a predator that had been waiting, watching, preparing. By the time the first alien commander realized the truth, it was too late. This was not a normal vessel. This was not human weakness. This was something built to silence their arrogance forever. And as the stars burned with fire, the galaxy began to understand, humanity was not to be mocked. Humanity was not to be broken. Humanity had teeth. The vessel drifted forward again, calm, cold, unstoppable. The silence was louder than the enemy's screams. And somewhere, deep inside every human watching from afar, a single thought burned bright. The aliens bragged about their battleships. But humanity's vessel had silenced them. The wrecks of alien ships floated in the dark like broken bones. Flames flickered in the vacuum, dying slowly, painting the void with silent fire. The aliens had bragged about their battleships, but in only minutes, they were gone, torn apart by one vessel that had never spoken a single word. The survivors sent desperate calls across the stars. Warnings. Please. Angry promises of revenge. Some begged their commanders for reinforcements. Others demanded to know how a single human ship could destroy their mighty fleet. But no one had an answer. The vessel drifted through the wreckage, silent as always. Its crew moved like shadows inside, calm and cold. They were not celebrating. They were not cheering. For them, this was only the beginning. The alien empire was vast, and this victory was only a message. A warning. But the aliens did not hear the warning. They only felt the insult. Across their empire, their leaders roared with fury. To them, humans were small creatures, a new race in the galaxy, too young to stand against real power. Yet now, that same young race had humiliated them. Their people demanded blood. Their pride demanded war. A massive fleet began to gather. Bigger, stronger, more dangerous than the first. Entire worlds sent ships. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, all prepared to wipe out humanity in a single storm of fire. Their commanders swore that no human vessel would escape this time. They promised to burn Earth itself as proof. But humanity already knew. Spies and hidden satellites carried the news. The vessel's crew listened in silence as reports came in. An armada was moving. The greatest fleet the aliens had ever assembled. Even with the vessel's power, no one was sure if it could survive what was coming. Still, no one turned back. No one spoke of surrender. Inside the ship, every system was checked again and again. Weapons reloaded. Engines tuned. Shields calibrated. The crew looked at one another and saw no fear, only resolve. This was not about survival anymore. This was about proving something. About silencing the galaxy's laughter once and for all. The alien armada moved like a storm. Thousands of ships, blotting out the stars, pushing forward with unstoppable force. The galaxy watched. Other races held their breath, waiting to see the end of humanity. Everyone expected the humans to hide, to beg, to scatter like dust. But the vessel did not run. It moved forward, alone, into the darkness between the stars. Waiting. When the alien armada arrived, their commanders laughed again. Their voices echoed across every channel. Do you think one ship can stand against us? Do you think your silence makes you strong? We will crush you and show the galaxy the truth. They bragged louder than ever, their arrogance filling the void. Their battleships gleamed like suns, their weapons ready to burn. They thought this would be easy. They thought they would erase the shame of their first defeat. But the vessel had other plans. The first shots cut through the void. Not from the humans, but from the aliens. 1,000 beams of plasma, 1,000 missiles, all rushing forward in a storm of fire. The vessel's shields lit up like a burning star. For a moment, the galaxy thought the ship would fall. For a moment, it seemed humanity had finally been broken. Then the vessel moved. Faster this time. Sharper. Its engines roared, and the silence turned deadly once again. A single shot fired, piercing through the darkness. An alien cruiser exploded in flames. Another followed. Then, another. Each strike was perfect, precise, unstoppable. The vessel danced between the storms of fire like a shadow that could not be caught. The alien commanders screamed. They ordered their fleets forward. They promised victory. They bragged again and again, but their voices now carried cracks of fear. Each moment, more of their mighty ships fell. Each second, their pride was cut apart. The galaxy watched in silence. Races that once mocked humanity now stared in awe. This was no accident. This was no miracle. This was power. Power wrapped in steel. Power carried by silence. The battle raged on. Flames spread across the void. The alien armada fought with all its strength, but the vessel never stopped. Every strike it delivered was a message. Humanity would not kneel. Humanity would not break. Humanity would silence their enemies, one by one. And as the armada began to fall apart, the galaxy realized the truth. This was not just a ship. This was something else. Something built for war. Something built to change the future of every star. The aliens bragged about their battleships. But bragging could not save them now. The battlefield was quiet now. Wreckage floated in endless darkness, glowing with dying fire. The great alien armada, once proud and unstoppable, had been torn apart by a single vessel. The silence of space was filled only with drifting metal and broken pride. The galaxy could not believe it. Worlds that once mocked humanity now whispered the same question. How? How could one human ship destroy so many? What was this vessel? Who had built it? No one had answers. No one dared to guess. But rumors began to spread. Some said the ship was alive, guided by something beyond human understanding. Others claimed it carried ancient weapons, stolen from forgotten civilizations. A few even whispered that humans had made a deal with something darker, something hidden in the void. The truth, however, was known only to the crew. They did not speak. They did not explain. Their silence was their greatest weapon. But the aliens could not accept this defeat. Their empire shook with rage. Their leaders screamed that humanity had cheated, that the battles were lies. They promised revenge, greater than before. They swore they would send fleets larger than galaxies themselves. Inside the vessel, the crew listened to these threats. Calm. Steady. They knew the aliens would not stop. Arrogance was in their blood. Pride was their weakness. And humanity would use that weakness again and again. The vessel did not stay hidden. It moved forward, deeper into enemy space. It was no longer just a shield for Earth. It was now a blade. A weapon to strike at the heart of those who had mocked humanity. Alien scouts detected its movement. They screamed warnings. They told their fleets to prepare. But fear spread faster than orders. Entire patrols abandoned their posts. Colonies locked their gates, praying the vessel would pass them by. For the first time, the Empire felt hunted. The alien commanders tried to calm their people. They spoke loudly again, filling the stars with their voices. They bragged about new ships, new weapons, new traps. They promised the humans would finally be crushed. But their voices did not sound the same. Behind the arrogance, there was fear. Behind the pride, there was doubt. The vessel struck again. Another fleet, gone. Another stronghold, burned. Each battle was faster, sharper, deadlier. The aliens fought with all their strength, but nothing stopped the human ship. The silence before each strike was worse than the strike itself. The galaxy began to fear the silence. The vessel never spoke, never explained. It simply appeared, destroyed, and disappeared into the darkness again. A shadow in the stars. A ghost that no weapon could kill. Soon, even alien soldiers began to question their leaders. The ones who once bragged about their battleships now whispered in fear of the vessel. Some refused to fight. Others abandoned their fleets. Pride was breaking apart, piece by piece. But the leaders of the alien empire still roared. They could not stop. Their arrogance was too strong. They promised one final strike. one fleet larger than anything before. They called it the End Fleet, a storm that would erase humanity forever. The galaxy waited. Would the humans face it? Or would the vessel finally break? Inside the ship, the crew prepared once more. Their eyes were tired, but their resolve was unshaken. They knew the battles ahead would be worse than anything before. But they also knew something else. The aliens had made a mistake. They had bragged too loudly, too proudly, too long. And now, their pride was leading them to destruction. The vessel drifted into the dark again, calm and silent. The humans were ready. The galaxy held its breath. And the aliens bragged once more, promising fire, promising victory. But the stars knew the truth. Bragging could not save them. Not now. Not ever. The galaxy trembled. News of the human vessel spread to every world, every race, every star. The once proud alien empire, famous for its endless fleets, was now bleeding. Their battleships, their cruisers, their mighty armadas, all had fallen before a single ship. Yet the aliens refused to stop. Pride would not let them. They called together the End Fleet, the largest gathering of warships ever seen in history. A storm of steel and plasma so massive that even the stars seemed to hide. Entire planets emptied their shipyards. Entire sectors gave their resources. Millions of soldiers were ordered to fight. Their leaders spoke to the galaxy again. Their voices thundered through the void. This is the end of the humans. Their vessel will burn. Their silence will be broken. Their weakness will be revealed. But their voices no longer carried the same arrogance. Everyone could hear it. Beneath the bragging was desperation. Beneath the promises was fear. The vessel waited. Hidden in the dark of a dead system, it floated quietly while its crew prepared. No celebration. No talk of glory. Only focus. They knew what was coming. They knew the End Fleet would not stop until humanity was erased. The crew moved carefully. Every weapon checked again. Every engine tuned. Shields strengthened. Ammunition loaded. They were few in number, but each one carried the weight of humanity on their shoulders. They were not fighting for medals. They were not fighting for pride. They were fighting because surrender meant extinction. The galaxy watched. Billions of eyes turned to the place where the final battle would begin. Some races prayed for humanity's survival. Others prayed for their destruction, fearing what would happen if the humans truly won. But no one could look away. When the End Fleet arrived, the stars disappeared. Thousands of ships filled the void, so many that even light itself seemed swallowed. Their engines burned brighter than suns. Their weapons glowed like oceans of fire. The aliens bragged louder than ever. This time, you will not escape. This time, your silence will end. The vessel answered with silence. Then the battle began. The first wave of alien fire rushed forward, a storm so great it could have burned an entire planet. Plasma beams. Missiles. Railguns. A wall of death moving at the speed of light. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the human vessel to vanish under the weight of it. But the vessel moved. Faster than ever before. It cut through the storm with impossible precision. Shields flared but held. Weapons roared, sending death back into the armada. The first alien ships exploded. Then the second. Then the third. The aliens screamed orders. They demanded the vessel's destruction. They bragged again, promising their fleet was too large to lose. But already, cracks were forming. The vessel struck like a knife, each attack perfectly aimed. Alien commanders tried new tactics. Traps. Ambushes. Formations designed to crush the human ship. But the vessel adapted each time, moving with deadly grace. It was not just a machine. It was something sharper. Something alive. The battle raged for hours. The void burned with fire. Wreckage floated like broken planets. Still, the vessel fought. Still, the silence remained. Inside, the crew worked without rest. Sweat dripped, hands shook, but no one stopped. Every move mattered. Every shot counted. They were not just fighting a fleet. They were fighting history itself. They were fighting the arrogance of an empire that believed no one could challenge them. The aliens began to falter. Their voices cracked. Their bragging turned to rage, then to fear. They called the humans monsters. They called the vessel a curse. But nothing stopped it. One by one, their mighty battleships fell. One by one, their commanders went silent. And in that silence, the galaxy understood. The bragging was over. The lies were over. Humanity's vessel was writing a new story, one that could not be ignored. By the end of the day, the End Fleet was no longer an armada. It was wreckage, drifting in endless night. Flames floated like dying stars, marking the fall of a power that once ruled the galaxy with pride. The vessel drifted forward again, calm, silent, unstoppable. And for the first time, the galaxy whispered a new truth: humanity was not prey. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was the hunter. The aliens had bragged about their battleships. But now, there was nothing left to brag about. The wreckage of the End Fleet floated like a graveyard across the stars. Thousands of alien ships, once a storm of pride, were now nothing but broken shadows in the void. The silence of their defeat spread faster than their voices ever had. For the first time in history, the alien empire trembled. Their people had believed the leaders' promises. They had believed in their bragging, their speeches, their endless boasts about strength. But now, they had seen those words shattered by one vessel. Fear spread across their worlds. Soldiers who once rushed to war now hesitated. Colonies whispered of rebellion. Commanders who once bragged of victory now avoided the front lines. Pride was breaking apart. But still, the leaders refused to admit defeat. Their voices grew louder, harsher, filled with rage. They claimed the battles were lies, tricks, human illusions. They promised revenge, bigger than before. They shouted across the stars, but their voices sounded weak now, weak and hollow. The vessel, silent as always, drifted deeper into enemy space. It did not stop. It did not slow. Its crew did not rest. Each battle had taken its toll, but their resolve was harder than steel. They knew the war was not finished. The Empire still lived, and until it was silenced, humanity would never be safe. Other races watched with wide eyes. Some who once mocked humanity now sent secret messages of respect. Some offered quiet help, passing hidden data or supplies. Others waited, wondering if humanity would rise as the galaxy's new power. But the humans did not speak of power. They did not brag. They only fought. The alien empire gathered once again, not with fleets this time, but with desperation. Their leaders built massive fortresses, weapons carved into the hearts of stars. They swore that if the vessel came closer, it would be destroyed. They promised their people that the human curse would end. But deep inside, they were afraid. The silence of the vessel haunted them more than any weapon. Every time they bragged, the silence answered. Every time they promised victory, the silence returned. And each time, the silence won. The crew of the vessel understood this. They knew the war was not only of weapons, but of fear. Every battle was a message. Every victory tore down the Empire's pride. And soon, pride would collapse into ruin. The next strike came at a border world. The aliens had turned it into a fortress, covered with cannons, surrounded by fleets. Their commanders bragged that no enemy had ever broken it. They promised it would be the grave of the human vessel. The vessel arrived in silence. No warning. No words. The battle was quick. Too quick. Cannons fired, shields burned, fleets roared, and then they were gone. In less than an hour, the fortress was nothing but flame. The humans did not cheer. They did not boast. They moved on, silent and cold. The galaxy gasped. Every world now believed the same truth: the alien empire was falling. Not to a fleet. Not to an army. To one ship, carrying the silence of humanity. Inside the empire, panic grew. Citizens whispered that their leaders were liars. Soldiers muttered that their commanders were fools. Fear spread like fire. Rebellion sparked in hidden corners. But the leaders still bragged. They shouted louder, desperate to keep control. They promised one final weapon, one final defense. Something so powerful that not even the vessel could stand against it. The humans heard the message. They knew the Empire was preparing its last move. The crew exchanged quiet looks, their eyes heavy but steady. They knew what had to be done. The vessel changed course, heading straight toward the heart of the Empire. Toward the world where the leaders hid. Toward the place where the last lie would fall. The galaxy watched. Billions of hearts beat faster. This was no longer just a war. It was a story, a legend unfolding before their eyes. The rise of humanity, the fall of arrogance. The aliens bragged again, their voices sharp with fear. This is your end, humans. This time you will be silenced. But the galaxy already knew the truth. It was not the humans who would be silenced. It was the Empire. The vessel moved through the dark like a shadow with purpose. No banners. No songs. No glory. Only silence. Behind it, the Empire's fleets were broken. Their fortresses burned. Their pride shattered. Ahead lay the final heart of their power. The alien leaders screamed louder than ever. Their voices filled the stars with rage and fear. Humanity is nothing. One ship cannot destroy an empire. We have weapons beyond their understanding. We have power beyond their reach. But the galaxy had heard these words before. They were the same bragging voices that once mocked humanity. The same voices that promised easy victories. And now, those voices carried no strength, only desperation. Inside the vessel, the crew prepared for the hardest battle yet. Every system checked. Every weapon armed. They knew the Empire's homeworld would not fall easily. It was surrounded by defense rings, guarded by fleets still large enough to wipe out nations. The leaders had poured everything into protecting themselves. The humans did not underestimate them. They did not believe the Empire would collapse without a fight. But they also knew something greater. Arrogance had already cracked the Empire from within. Soldiers doubted their commanders. Citizens whispered rebellion. Fear poisoned every fleet before a single shot was fired. The vessel entered the system. At once, alarms echoed across alien channels. Fleets rushed into formation. Cannons charged. Thousands of ships lit the dark with weapons ready to fire. The leaders broadcast their voices again, louder than ever. You will not pass. You will not touch our world. This is where humanity ends. Still, the vessel did not answer. The first wave came like a storm. Plasma beams, missiles, railgun fire, the sky itself turned into fire. The galaxy held its breath. Could the vessel survive this final wall of death? It moved. Precise. Deadly. Silent. Shields flared, weapons roared, and alien ships exploded like dry wood in flame. Every strike from the vessel tore holes in their wall. Every movement broke their formations. Alien commanders shouted orders. They bragged that their fleets still outnumbered the humans. They promised the vessel would fall under sheer weight. But their soldiers did not believe. They had seen too many fall before. They had heard too many promises end in silence. The battle stretched on. Hours became endless. Wreckage filled the void. The vessel pressed forward, closer and closer to the Empire's world. Nothing stopped it. Nothing slowed it. The silence marched on. Inside the Empire's world, panic spread. The leaders ordered their citizens to fight, to sacrifice, to die for their pride. But many refused. Rebellion erupted in the streets. Riots broke out. The Empire was breaking apart from inside while the vessel closed in from outside. The leaders bragged again, desperate, angry. "We have one weapon left. One strike that will end this human curse forever." And then the weapon appeared. A massive structure, hidden deep within the system. Larger than any ship, larger than some moons. A cannon forged from stolen stars, built for one purpose: destruction on a scale never seen before. The galaxy gasped. The leaders laughed, their voices sharp with arrogance once more. "Behold our power. Behold the weapon that will erase you. Even your vessel cannot survive this." The cannon charged. The light of a dying star glowed at its core, brighter and brighter, ready to unleash fire that could tear planets apart. The vessel faced it without fear. The crew worked in silence, eyes locked on their instruments, hands steady on controls. They had no promise of survival. They had no guarantee of victory. But they carried something stronger than the Empire's pride. They carried resolve. The cannon fired. A beam of light larger than mountains, faster than thought, ripping through the void with unstoppable force. The galaxy cried out, sure the vessel would vanish in flame. But the vessel moved. Not fast. Not reckless. Perfect. It cut through the beam, shields burning, hull shaking, alarms screaming. For a moment, it seemed it would fall. For a moment, the galaxy thought humanity was finished. Then the vessel struck back. Its weapons lit the dark, cutting into the massive cannon. Fire spread across its surface. Explosions roared, tearing it apart piece by piece. The leaders screamed, denying what they saw, bragging even as their weapon fell apart before their eyes. When the cannon finally exploded, the shockwave rippled across the system. Fleets scattered. Soldiers panicked. The Empire's last hope burned to nothing. And the vessel kept moving. Closer, closer, toward the homeworld. The leaders shouted in rage, in fear, in despair. Their voices filled the void again. But the galaxy no longer listened. The only sound that mattered was the silence of the vessel, pressing forward, unstoppable. The end was coming. The alien homeworld shone in the distance, a jewel of steel and fire. Towers reached the sky. Defense rings circled the planet like chains. Fleets swarmed in panic, broken and scattered, trying to protect their masters. But nothing could stop what was coming. The vessel moved closer. Silent. Steady. A shadow that carried the weight of every human hope, every human fear, every human dream. The alien leaders shouted across every channel. Their voices cracked with rage. "You cannot win. You are weak. You are nothing compared to us. Humanity will fall, just as every race has fallen before." But no one listened anymore. Their words were hollow. Their bragging was empty. Even their own people no longer believed them. Rebellion burned across the planet. Soldiers refused to fight. Citizens stormed the palaces. The Empire was falling apart from within. The vessel entered orbit. Alien fleets tried to block its path. Broken ships, frightened soldiers, desperate commanders. They fought because they had no choice. But the silence swallowed them one by one. The vessel's weapons struck with precision, tearing apart their last defenses. Inside the ship, the crew worked like steel machines, but their faces showed the truth. They were exhausted, worn thin by endless battles. Yet not one of them wavered. They knew this was the end. They knew they had carried humanity to the edge of victory, and now they would finish it. The alien leaders unleashed their last defenses. Planetary cannons fired. Shields lit the sky. They screamed louder than ever, their voices breaking into madness. "You will not take our world. You will not silence us." But the silence had already won. The vessel's weapons rained fire across the defenses. Cannons shattered. Shields collapsed. Towers crumbled. The skies burned. On the surface, alien citizens watched in shock. They had lived under prideful rulers for generations. They had believed their empire was eternal. But now they saw it fall in flames. They saw the truth with their own eyes. the humans had done what no one else dared. They had silenced the Empire. The leaders begged for mercy then. Their voices, once filled with arrogance, now cracked with fear. They offered surrender. They promised peace. They promised anything to save themselves. The vessel did not answer. One final strike came. The command center, the heart of the Empire, lit with fire and then collapsed into ruin. The voices stopped. The bragging ended. The silence of space returned. The war was over. For a moment, the galaxy stood still. No broadcasts. No speeches. No threats. Only silence. A silence heavier than any weapon. The vessel drifted above the burning world. Its crew looked at their screens, their faces pale with exhaustion. They had won. Against all odds, they had silenced the greatest empire in the galaxy. But they did not cheer. They did not shout. They only sat in quiet relief. Victory was not glory. Victory was survival. Victory was a message. Across the galaxy, the message spread. Every race, every world, every star heard the same truth. The aliens had bragged about their battleships. They had mocked humanity. They had promised fire and destruction. But in the end, a single vessel had silenced them all. No one dared to mock humanity again. The vessel turned away from the ruined world. Its engines lit the dark, carrying it back into the endless void. There would be new challenges. New enemies. The galaxy was wide, and danger was never far. But now, the stars looked at humanity differently. Not as prey. Not as weak. Not as children. They looked at humanity with respect. With fear. With silence. And deep within the vessel, the crew sat together, their eyes heavy, their bodies weary. Yet their hearts carried one simple truth. Humanity was not fragile. Humanity was not broken. Humanity had teeth. And the galaxy would never forget it.